So,
Okay.
welcome, Valley. My name is Olivia McCuskey, and I am with the Education Alliance. The Education Alliance exists to mobilize business and community support for public schools, and we are very passionate about helping all students build career awareness and be ready for future success. I'm very excited to welcome Jamie Devine with West Virginia American Water. She will be speaking with us today about career opportunities available in the utilities industry, and then she will provide a skill facilitation on diversity and inclusion. So a very quick outline of today's module. The first 10 to 15 minutes, we will learn both about the utility industry in general, and then the types of careers and career upward mobility available there. We will then leave time for a brief Q&A. Then the next 10 to 15 minutes, we will transition into a skill facilitation on diversity and inclusion. And the remaining 5 to 10 minutes, we will finish with another round of Q&A. So without further ado, Jamie, I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here today. My name is Jamie Devine. I am a human resources business partner with American Water. I sit below Pittsburgh, south of Pittsburgh, and I support Western Pennsylvania and the state of West Virginia in the role that I'm in. I've been with the company about 14 years, and my role primarily revolves around performance management, talent acquisition, development planning, and training. So those are some of the things that I get to do in the role that I'm in. So excited to talk to you. Olivia's already covered the agenda, so we'll move right past this slide and we'll talk a little bit about who is West Virginia American Water. So what I'm highlighting today is our commitment to inclusion and diversity, but I will pause here, and I don't have a slide on this, but our number one priority is the safety of our employees, our communities, our customers. So safety is always number one at American Water. We talk about safety a lot. We think about safety a lot. We work really hard to implement safety as a natural practice and not an afterthought at American Water, so that before the job begins or before we start our days, we're doing things like stretching to make sure that our muscles are warmed up, because we have a very labor-intensive workforce. Even for those of us that sit in an office chair most of the day, stretching is important to make sure that we don't get those sedentary or repetitive motion injuries. We have a lot of safety equipment, PPE, which is personal protective equipment. And, when you might see us out digging in the trenches, we have something called shoring. So that's the walls that you would put down in the hole to prevent a cave-in or a collapse of the soil that we work in. So I just like to point out safety is important, but today's topic is on inclusion and diversity. And I always say following right on the heels of safety is our commitment to inclusion and diversity. Our statement is that American Water sees diversity as a vital element in creating an environment where differences are accepted and are important to the company's success. American Water values and promotes diversity in its workforce and aims to reflect the local communities it serves through the people it employs wherever possible. We are all beautifully different. So what I'd like to say as a follow-up, maybe an action item, something you guys can look at in a future class, this website down here, www.diversityaw.com, is a public website, and I'm going to show it to you here. If we can flip screens, there we go. So this is our website, and this contains tons and tons of information, and you can come in here and look at it at any point. It's got metrics on what our workforce looks like. It's got awards that we've received. It's got reporting that we're required to do for the government. It's got the environmental, social, and governance. There's a whole panel of information down the left-hand side that you can explore and really look at. Who is American Water, and what do they mean when they say commitment to inclusion and diversity? So there is a short video here. I'm going to play it and hope that I've asked for sound to work on the Zoom.
With a history dating back to 1886, American Water is the largest and most geographically diverse U.S. publicly traded water and wastewater utility company. We employ more than 64
It's buffering on my side.
No problem. We totally understand that here in West Virginia.
So
I see all the girls shaking their head.
yeah. So I won't try to play this today. It's only just over a minute. We're on all of the social media sites, but this site is specifically created. We launched this last year, and it gets updated on a regular basis. It's not just a once a year update. This gets updated, as things happen, or as awards come through, or as we have new statements or revise things. There's a ton of information here. If you get a chance, I think it would be great for you to come onto the site and maybe just, pick out one or two things that surprise you about American Water or that interested you. You can see that 63% of our board is diverse. And when we say diverse, we don't mean just minorities. That can be gender, disability, veteran status. It could be your race or minority status. It could also be veteran, military spouse, or a member of the LGBTQ+ community. And all of these things are self-reported at American Water. We don't require anyone to tell us this information. So it could be a higher number. It's just that folks have decided not to share, and that's perfectly fine. We're working on that culture to embrace that. Let's see, I'm going to go back to the slideshow here. Okay, so that's a little bit about American Water's commitment to inclusion and diversity. So now we are a water utility, water and wastewater utility. So the water that you turn on your tap at home, that's what we do. We pull the water from a source, and our source can be from a river or not a stream, but a river, groundwater wells. And then we put it through a filtration process and disinfection in the plants, and then it gets pumped out to your homes. West Virginia American Water's got just over 320 employees. There's 4,500 miles of water main throughout the state in our service territory. And you can see on the map, all of the color-coded counties that we serve. Those are where we are. A water utility is a monopoly, which means that when you build a house, you don't get to pick your water provider. It's all, otherwise we'd have more than we already do, pipes underground, sort of crisscrossing this way and that way. We have 8 water plants and 2 wastewater plants at this time. Even when you think about the hydrants, so we have over 10,000 hydrants in West Virginia that we have to maintain and service and make sure that those still work because they provide fire service. Okay. Okay. So that's West Virginia American Water. And then why work at American Water? So what you see here is also something relatively new for American Water. We do a lot of engagement surveys, which is, when we ask employees, what do you like about working here? What can we do better? Because feedback is truly a gift. And the only way we get better as a company is if we know what employees are thinking and what we can do better and in what areas. So we care. That's what this is, the We Care umbrella. And it's our internal promise to our employees. And it represents the tremendous role that all the employees play in making American Water the great place that it is. So there are programs under this umbrella that benefit employees like safety, compensation, work-life balance, development, career pathing, respect and inclusion, and training. We categorized all of these things into the 5 areas you see on the screen. Deeper connection focuses on driving inclusion, diversity, and equity, working in communities, and offering opportunities to build your internal network. Personal growth is professional and personal development, opportunities and career pathing. Shared purpose happens through the work we do when we support our environmental, social, and governance goals. Integrity and providing customers with service. Flexibility is about achieving work-life balance and working on innovative projects. And well-being connects our commitment to safety and equates to good emotional and physical health. through competitive wages, recognition opportunities, and financial well-being. We Care is about building a safe and inclusive culture where every employee knows their value and is appreciated for their talents. So that's the promise to employees. Now, these are the types of jobs. So at American Water, you might recognize that we have laborers and utility folks because that's who you see in the field, maybe digging up the street or laying new pipe. We also have our service department, who's widely seen by customers. They read the meters, they change the meters, they fix the meters, they do all the service orders. But that's not to say we're an entire corporation and we have to have all of the other departments that come along with running a corporation. And you can see them listed here on the side. I'm a perfect example. I'm in human resources for a water utility. I'm field HR. Our headquarters are in Camden, New Jersey. If you saw the beginning of the video, that was our building on the Delaware River there. It's relatively new, maybe 5 or 6 years that we built that. That's our headquarters. At this point, I'll pause, check that you're still with me, and see if you guys have any questions.
So one of our questions is, what qualities do you look for whenever you're hiring a new employee?
Yep. So I think a consistent piece of feedback that we get is communication. We'll never be done working on communication. So when we look for a new employee, we look for someone who can communicate, both verbally and through written is important. And so when you're interviewing someone, can they convey to you their experience in a concise manner? Or do they pause, or do they not pause, but do they not have clear answers? I'll stop and say pausing in an interview is totally fine, because that means you're collecting your thoughts in order to present them to the person. So we do look for strong communication skills. We're also looking for someone who's willing to be part of a respectful and inclusive environment. That is not an environment for everyone, but that's the environment American Water has. So we're looking for someone who wants to be here. We do a lot of giving back. So somebody who wants to be a part of the community, who will volunteer for events, who will do outreach in the community. So there's a lot of, those are some of the softer qualities. All of our jobs require a technical component as well, and that varies based on the type of position you're looking for.
That was a great question. Any others?
Not right now.
Jamie, I actually have a follow-up for that. So, once you get to the company, I mean, obviously you've been there 14 years now. What are some things you look for in an employee for promotion or for getting a higher job at the company? What are some ways that, that can come about?
The first thing is, what does the employee want? There are some people that are really, really great at their jobs, and we think, wow, they'd make such a great supervisor or manager. And the employee is like, whoa, that is not what I want. I want to stay right here. So step one, what does the employee want? And helping them identify what that looks like. And then if somebody does want to be promoted, let's get them the exposure and experience. So is there a different department that they need to maybe shadow? As an example, we have a manager who works in our call it transmission and distribution, so field services, and he's interested in wastewater. So one day a week, he's going to head over to the wastewater plant, shadow the manager there. Maybe they have a project going on that he can experience. So while he's doing his current job, he's also going to get this extra exposure for that. And then, experience too is great as well. And experience, it doesn't necessarily mean doing the job, but it can be, is there a pop-up team or a committee that you can join that gets you the experience in other parts of the business. So we're nationwide. We're not just in one state or two states. We're a nationwide company, including on military bases. So if you get to interact with folks from Missouri or Indiana or California, you get to learn about how different states operate, and that brings great experience. So we look for broad exposure when it comes to promotion opportunities.
Okay, great. Yeah, so it sounds like it's important to communicate your kind of aspirations once you get to the company.
Mhm.
And my other question, and I apologize if you've already answered this, but what are maybe two of the most or the highest rate of jobs you're looking to fill right now? What are two positions?
We have so many right now. Well, so I will say what I always answer in West Virginia, particularly if you want a guaranteed job in the state of West Virginia, and I really mean guaranteed, get your water operator license. I've got a water operator that's been posted for almost a year now, and we have yet to have someone apply that has a license in West Virginia. It is an incredibly rare thing to get. It's now, I will say it's challenging. It is not an easy process to get your license, but it's doable. If that's what you want to do and you set your mind to it, if you have education after high school, those apply toward credits, toward the years that you have to work in a water plant. There are 4 different levels of water operators in West Virginia, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 being the highest. And then depending on the type of plant, that's the type of license that you need to have. So I'd say, and those pay extremely well. You know, I'd say off the top of my head, I know mine are unionized, so it is a non-negotiable rate, but it's $32 an hour base wages for like a plant operator. So I'd say that one definitely is a high need right now. And then you know, the other one that oftentimes is the one that gets posted is a laborer. So that could be somebody that, like I said, you know, operates a backhoe or is shoveling up the curb stop, laying new pipe. And then I think right behind that would be a field operations supervisor. So a supervisor that oversees the work, manages the employees, is really a supervisor is that key communicator, because a lot of our frontline employees are not at a computer all day, and they really depend on the supervisor to relay to them, hey, here's what's happening in the company, here's what's coming up, here's how you can get involved, and works to develop people. So those are some great positions at American Water. I will say that most of our functional groups like finance and finance, they're in Camden, which is another point. If you join American Water, the opportunity is not just in West Virginia. We have people that relocate, myself included, for positions and different opportunities in American Water. So don't, you know, always be open to new opportunities. It worked out really well for me to come to Western PA. All right, so I'm going to jump into unconscious bias and mutual respect. So this is our training topic today. And I'll start now by saying, as you listen to the training topic, what we always say in learning and development is it's great to be a part of a class, but what's most important is what you take away and how it changes what you do. So as you listen to these different topics, think of one thing that you will start or stop doing or do differently as a result of what you've learned today during class. So think through that, because at the end of class, I want you to write it down. I won't ask you to report out, but I always think it's so important when it comes to training that you have that. Okay, so these are our objectives. After today, you'll be able to define unconscious bias, differentiate between the types of bias, and define and understand mutual respect. So we'll start with a quiz first. I'm going to pause here for just a few seconds, read down through these definitions, and if you can just shout out what letter you think diversity matches.
We're having a little bit of trouble seeing what the definitions are. It's coming across blurry on our computer.
Is it blurry?
It is on my end too. I'm not sure.
All right. Okay,
Thank-
all right, that's okay. I will walk through them. So diversity is a non-homogeneous group. It means that it's made up of different things. Not everything is alike. Inclusion was the next word, and that one is feeling valued, included, and allowed to be yourself. Equity, which is different from inclusion. Equity is fair and equal access. And then prejudice is a preconceived notion that's not based on reason or actual experience. And then an upstander is a person committed to education to find common ground with others and act upon it when needed. Okay. So now we're going to walk through the different definitions of unconscious bias. So maybe it's surprising to you, maybe you thought there was only one kind of unconscious bias, but there are a whole bunch. So unconscious is the part of the mind that's inaccessible to the conscious mind, but affects our behavior and emotions. So the great example that I have of this one is YouTube. When Google launched YouTube, they found that about 10% of the videos uploaded were upside down, and they were baffled. They said, how could so many people be doing it wrong? And I'll put wrong in air quotes. And so the Google engineers had inadvertently designed the app for right-handed users, but they had left-handed people doing the video, and they turned the phone the opposite way, which caused the video to be upside down. So it was just something that they hadn't thought about, that there would be people holding the phone the opposite direction. That was an unconscious bias. They didn't do it on purpose. But no, their first thought was that people were doing it wrong. The next one is affinity bias. And this is positively attracted to people with whom we share a common bond. And this one maybe can be a little tricky, and I relate it to interviewing. So say I've got 4 resumes and one of them went to my same school that I went to, and I bring them in and I say, hey, go Hawks, or whatever our mascot was. And then all of a sudden we have this bias that I'm not even consciously thinking about, but I'm saying I find something in common, and maybe that's the person I picked just based on the fact that they went to this school, same school as me. This is, people who make you comfortable. The next one is similarity bias, which is similar to affinity bias, wanting to spend time with others who are like us. They share the same or similar values, thoughts, and beliefs. Perhaps this might be me.
At this time, the juniors in Mr. Derby's, Valentine, and Mr.
We all really like maybe the Steelers, and that's the team that we support. So I want to be near them because we all like the same sports team. Confirmation bias is seeking facts that will confirm our pre-existing beliefs. This is a validation. So anyone who's done the scientific method, and you know that you form a hypothesis and then you do a number of experiments to either confirm or deny your hypothesis. If you have confirmation bias, then you will only take into account the tests that support your hypothesis. You'll disregard anything that doesn't align with what you originally thought. And again, maybe you're not doing this consciously, but these are the reason we talk about unconscious bias, is to make it conscious, so that you do think, am I being fair? Am I looking at all of the facts and evaluating everything? You can see confirmation bias a lot in social media too, any type of social media, where somebody will say something and then the comments and the likes start piling up with everybody just agreeing. Because they're confirming this person's opinion. So you just and I'll pause. I've mentioned social media just from my HR hat. Be careful what you post. I won't tell you what to post, but be careful on social media. That never goes away. And we at American Water don't Google you when you apply for jobs, but I can't say what other employers do, and it's very easy to find that information out there. So it doesn't go away. So just, I'm word of caution, and I say it to my college and high school children, be careful. hindsight bias is I knew it all along. It's the belief that after the fact, this was a completely predictable event and we should have known how it was going to go. Sometimes we call this Monday morning quarterback. Oh, he should never have thrown that ball Sunday night. I knew he was going to get intercepted. Well, no one really knew that, but that's a hindsight bias. Distancy and recency. So nearby is better than distant. Recent is better than longer ago. This one can be tricky, particularly in a performance review. So performance review is typically a calendar year, and say I had a stellar first couple of months. I did new projects and I was on all these teams and I had high quality work. And then, that's January through May. And then maybe in October, I sent the wrong report or I made a mistake. And now my performance review comes right after that. Well, all the manager sees is that mistake I made, not all the great things I did. So that's a bias, and it's important to just, again, be aware of it, that even though it happened more recent, it doesn't make it any more important than what happened in January. And then distance, maybe I work in the office with Joe, but Lucy works, in another state. And Joe and I, we have lunch together and we're buddies, and that too can be a bias because I get to see him so many times. Group think is our desire for belonging overrides rational thought and decision making. We might call this mob mentality. A person is smart, people are not when they're grouped together, and it can sort of just be exactly what it sounds like, a clique maybe, or somehow that I know this is not the right decision, but I really want everyone to like me or accept me. So we jump on group think. That can be an unconscious thing as well. And the last one is implicit. So this is implied, though not plainly stated. It's otherwise known as the bystander effect. It refers to attitudes or stereotypes that affect our understanding, actions, and decisions in an unconscious manner. So a bystander is exactly what it sounds like, somebody that is witnessing an event, not necessarily intervening. Okay, so on the next slide, there's going to be a picture. I know it's a little blurry on your side, but hopefully you can just see this. So just take a few seconds, look at this picture. Does anything pop out at you? What do you see when you look at this picture? There's no right or wrong answer. Just looking for your opinion.
And Val, you're going to have to unmute as well. I went ahead and muted you when the announcement was going on. There you go. Yeah.
I see people working together.
I see them communicating with each other.
Yep, communicating. Notice any differences about the people or anything stand out to you?
The person in the back doesn't look very happy that the two in the front are talking.
Yep. You're right. So when this is a class that we had launched with our employee group, so we gave them this photo. I heard all kinds of feedback on it. Remember, this is a point in time. We're getting a snapshot of what's happening. And it does appear that the two men are talking and the woman is being excluded. And it does look like the gentleman all the way on the left has a clean hard hat and the other two don't. So perhaps he's the supervisor and he's talking to his employees, and that's why they're both looking at him. The man in the middle has a different color vest, and maybe that signifies maybe he's a trainee. Maybe he's like looking back and forth. So the point is, when you see a situation, our brain is smart. Our brain is very smart. It will jump to conclusions. So be aware when you see any situation in life, even in you're in school, if you're in a lunchroom or a classroom, and you see a situation, try to be situational, right? What's going on around, what's the context, what happened before, who's saying what biases do I have? We went through all the biases. What am I thinking, and what could be persuading my thoughts to go this direction? Like, why, when I look at this photo, why does it look like to me that the woman's being excluded? Is it because I'm a woman? Do I have a similarity bias with her? Maybe. So thanks for participating. We're going to move on to micro behaviors, which are tiny unconscious things that we say or do. A lot of the things our bodies and brains do, we don't give a lot of thought to. You know, in any one day, you make a lot of decisions. You know, what do you want to wear today? What route do you want to drive to school? What are you going to eat? So there's a lot of things that we do all day long. So it should not be surprising, or maybe it is, that there's unconscious behaviors that we have as well. So micro inequities are ways in which individuals are singled out, overlooked, or ignored based on an unchangeable characteristic. So now I know you're all like, well, what does that mean? So here's what it looks like. So a leader says, good morning to everyone but one person. And maybe that one person is of a racial minority, and everyone else is of the same race. And that's an unchangeable characteristic. I can't change the race that I am. Maybe consistently mispronouncing a person's name. Seems like a small thing, but if you've asked someone how to say their name, and then you repeatedly say it wrong, or repeatedly continue to ask, how do I say your name? Then you're being disrespectful of that person and perhaps their culture. So do what you need to do. If you meet someone with a challenging first name, practice it a few times if you're going to be interacting with that person, because how important is it? It's personalized, that you get my name right. That's very important to a person. And then hopefully you've been reading down through, hopefully it's not too blurry on your side. You can kind of see the rest of these. Okay, so the next one is called micro messaging. This is nonverbal body language that may or may not support the words being spoken. So does anyone have any examples of nonverbal body language that speaks louder than words?
Like rolling your eyes.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yes, rolling your eyes. Not making eye contact, crossing my arms. Looking at my cell phone is a big one too, that if somebody were to walk into my office and I, you know, and they're like, can I speak with you? And I say, yeah, and I'm typing away at my laptop or my phone, and I'm like, just 1 second, let me do this. That says to that person, what does that say to that person? That I'm not giving them the attention when they're coming to me to ask a question or for help. So the human interaction piece is really important. The email can wait. I don't need to finish it right this second. I can take the time out to answer this person's question. So looking at my watch. So if you come in my phone, if you come in my office, or if we're chatting in the hall and I just keep looking at my watch, that says very loud and clear, you are not important enough for my time. My time, I need to go because you're not important enough. So being aware of what we're doing, these are nonverbal body language. And I'm sure you all have experienced these things, or you know what I'm talking about. And the last micro behavior is microaggressions. And this is frequently used words or behaviors that communicate hostile or derogatory insults. Examples here. And this one is interesting to me. This one can be otherwise known as like a backhanded insult. So are you ladies going shopping at lunch? And maybe that doesn't sound bad, but it puts a gender group together, and it insinuates that all women want to do is shop. I never would have guessed you were gay. and tone also plays in here. So again, these are things that are just sort of underlining. It's not quite straight out mean or derogatory, but it's there. It's an underlining. You don't sound black. Well, what do you think black people sound like? So there are things that as you're saying them, what I say to my little one is, how do you want people to talk to you and treat you? So do you want folks to say these words to you? Do you want someone to say, or you don't sound like a little girl, or you don't sound black, whatever it might be. So these ones are microaggressions. This one was on, if anyone watches the ABC's What Would You Do? They had a whole segment on this. And it was really interesting. It was, two people that were on a date, and the woman was white and the man was black, and she was saying how their children were going to be great athletes because he was black. And that's a stereotypical response, thinking that all black individuals are great athletes. And these things can seem small. Like I said, tone can play, and maybe it doesn't seem like a big deal, but over time, if this is a repeated behavior, then it piles up, it compounds, and it gets worse and worse, because all of a sudden I can't handle it anymore. You can't keep telling me to take notes just because I'm the only woman in the room. That's not how this works. You've got to be equitable in a workplace, and that's the commitment to inclusion and diversity. And then, what do you do when you see these things? If you ever see any type of bias or micro behaviors, the important thing is to call it out. And that's being an upstander, somebody that steps in and takes action to correct a situation. So moving on to mutual respect, it's defined as proper regard for the dignity of a person or position. The two or more individuals have important contributions. They're both involved in the relationship. They each make up half of a relationship. And when one side demonstrates mutual respect, they show, I don't only respect myself, but I have respect for you too. Mutual respect is when two people may not agree, but they don't get upset over everything because they're willing to work together. I say all the time, you guys don't have to be best friends, but I need you to work together. We all work for American Water. Okay, so the first step is leveraging the strength of a diverse team. So how would you define an inclusive team where mutual respect is demonstrated? Any words or phrases or characteristics that you think of, like, I want to be on that team? What would that team look like?
A team that communicates,
Yep, good communication.
like understanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, understanding, respecting.
Team that's willing to work together no matter what.
Yeah, and I like how you say a team that's going to work together, because everyone's got to do their part, right? It can't be 75% of the team doing all the work. Okay. So just to wrap up inclusive teams, inclusion is a sense of belonging, a feeling of welcomeness, feeling connected. At work, inclusive organizations help people feel welcomed, known, and valued. We're encouraged to bring our whole unique selves to work. Inclusion revolves around day-to-day interactions between employees, managers, peers. Everything builds on the care for each other. We know diversity is good for business. It benefits the internal and external customers. A diverse team is a more innovative team. If you have all the same people on the team, they're all going to have the same ideas. So you need a diverse team. Sometimes the mistake we can make is believing that the job's done when we see that the team is diverse. In reality, that's just one piece. We must always strive to be inclusive, not just diverse. Okay, so this is my last slide for today. And so really this is where it comes in, personal action planning. I'd love for you guys on your own notepads or on your phone or wherever to jot down one thing that you learned today that you will start doing, you will stop doing, or you will change something that you're currently doing. So what will you do differently as a result of being through this session today?
Sounds good. So I wonder, any of our participants from Valley, would you be willing to share maybe what your personal action plan is? If you don't feel comfortable, that's totally fine. But if it's something you do feel comfortable sharing, we'd love to hear it.
I said, like, when I'm working with a group or like when I get out into the workforce, I want to have better communication with everyone. I mean, I have good communication, but I feel like I could always work on it.
That's kind of what I said as well, and then pay attention to my body language.
That's a great one. Yeah.
Same kind of ideas on that.
Okay, I also have one more question. I checked out the website and I wanted to know, like, what are some natural disasters that you have responded to in the past?
Great question.
Right. So natural disasters would be, we've had flooding. So when I started in the Hershey office of American Water, and I was there the year that it rained, and I want to say that was 2010. And it rained and rained and it flooded. And you can imagine when something floods, our water plant flooded. So, you know, there's all this water and we can't drive because it's underwater. We've got a helicopter and flew the employees in to the roof so that they could get into the building so that they could continue to provide water service to the community. The other thing was in Peoria, Illinois, several years ago, there was a hurricane that ripped through. We're in that's our service territory as well in Illinois. And we absolutely responded to that disaster. You can see us responding in either through manpower. We collect a lot of donations, either of items or money from employees if anyone wants to donate to send to areas that are devastated. And then we don't bottle our water for sale because we're tap water. But in an instance where there's a disaster and water's not available, we have what's called a water buffalo, which is a giant truck that you fill. It's like a giant water bottle on the back of a truck, and we fill it with water from a plant, and then we drive it to the disaster zone, and then people can bring jugs and fill up water that they know is safe to drink. So that's really, I mean, obviously we're a water provider, so we assist in that manner. We can send manpower too if needed. So in some instances, and when Hurricane Sandy came through, New Jersey, so that's where our headquarters is. We absolutely responded there to the employees who maybe lost their home. We actually have a crisis fund. So that's what we do for the community. For employees who maybe have a home fire or are devastated by a flood, we have a crisis fund through our charitable organization that they can apply to, they're struggling to pay their mortgage or a utility bill. They can apply for assistance from the company. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
And I have one more question to wrap it up. How do you as a company help to reduce workplace accidents?
Yep. I think what we do as a company, we talk about it. And we have a goal of 0 accidents. The goal is 0. We want everyone to go home in the same or better shape that they came to work in. And then we provide a lot of training around safety. We talk about it a lot. We provide resources and money to back up what we say when we say safety is important. And then there's a leading indicator and a lagging indicator. If there's an accident, that's a lagging, that's too late. So we do a lot of leading work. We have a whole near miss program where employees can, they've observed there's a break in this line, this electric cord is frayed. So they submit what we call a near miss. And they say, hey, watch out, I found a frayed cord. Everyone else, check your cords. I replaced mine. So it's a lot of awareness. I'd say a lot of talking about safety is how we try to prevent that.
Those are great
Great
questions.
I'm gonna have to let these guys go to their next period.
No problem.
Yep.
Valley, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank
Great
you.
questions. Hope you had a
Thank
good
you.
day and enjoy the rest of your day.
Absolutely.